Maryland and Wisconsin. We'll get to Rutgers, Iowa next, and then we'll finish off with Michigan versus Nebraska here at the end. Wisconsin favored in this one by 10.5. They opened at 9.5. It's gone up since then. Of course, we are doing this on Tuesday night, so do check FanDuel if you're listening to this on Thursday morning on the podcast. I'll be honest, Zach, I think there is more to Maryland giving this a really good game than some people will give it credit for. The Wisconsin secondary and how much they struggled last week really gives me concern, and Malik Washington going on the road as a true freshman gives me concern as well. However, these Maryland receivers played better last week, albeit against Towson, but still played better. They looked more in sync with Malik Washington. I liked what I saw, and I think if you see more of that against this Wisconsin team with how much they've struggled in the secondary, Ricardo Holman has not been who you wanted him to be so far, who you thought he could be from a couple years ago. The safeties for Wisconsin, they could be better. We expected them to be better too, but overall, I listened to Luke Fickle's press conference. This is not a guy that sounds super confident right now. And it's really disheartening to hear out of Luke Fickle because you would think he'd be, more juiced up to try and get to the end. But he said his goal in his press conference this year was not to get so angry so easily. And he was talking about just kind of like accepting when bad things happen for your team. And it's like that is not a head coach that inspires confidence in me. Now, maybe I took it the wrong way. We'll see. But, Zach, I have some concerns about Wisconsin in this one.
Yeah, I mean, I could see why that's a good thing. But to me, the biggest problem with Luke Fickle is he has not made as much progress as you would like. And I think the difficulty that I have, I think you nailed it. Malik Washington's a freshman. I think you have concerns about the offensive line. And I think Wisconsin in Camp Randall is always tough. I don't care how bad they are, like how good or how bad. It's always tough to play in Camp Randall. And
the attendance has been way worse though, man. I get what you're saying, but I don't know. The fans are not as bought in, and maybe they'll still come out. They'll still be crazy, but the fan base is not bought in right now. It seems like.
Yeah, well, and Doc P, I think he says it, and I thought it in the beginning of the Alabama game last week. Wisconsin lost its identity. Run the dang ball, and here's my issue. They brought in an offensive coordinator to reestablish who Wisconsin is. And I believe out of the first 12 plays, 8 dropbacks, which I think 3 of them were sacks, and 4 carries. And it's like, you have not brought back the Wisconsin identity. Like, you're doing something unlike that. And you're doing that with Danny O'Neal at quarterback in Tuscaloosa. So I have concerns about the coaching for Wisconsin. I have concerns about their offensive identity. I'm concerned about their defense. But Maryland's going on the road with a freshman quarterback, and I think we can safely say that their line play is probably not going to match up as well with Wisconsin. But at the same time, I think we can also confidently say that Maryland has talent on the outside and a run threat at quarterback that could really exploit Wisconsin's defense. So I think you're right to say, I'm not sure 10.5 is the right. I don't think that's a good spread for this game.
Yeah, me either. Is Maryland's defensive line better than Wisconsin's offensive line?
I don't know. I mean,
Sidney Stewart is nasty. Ian Thomas is crazy there in the middle. Zaheer Mathis coming off the edge has been really good.
Yeah,
I know Maryland hasn't played anybody. You could say the same thing for them that everybody's saying for Indiana. I get that, but oh boy, They have injuries on the offensive line. Wisconsin does, and this has been the
Yeah.
thing that probably breaks Luke Fickle's spirits the most is just how crazy injured they are. Again, even
Yeah.
like it's been every single year for him. I don't know if there's something he's doing in practice or what it is, but even that, their running backs don't look great either. So you're talking
Yeah.
about how they're dropping back to pass more. I don't know if I disagree with it because the running backs haven't been as good as you hoped they would be either. All you needed was one of these guys. Cade Yakimelli, Dylan Jones, some of these, and Cade Yakimelli has not been terrible, but it's not been the consistent nature of the running back picking up yards that you need, and part of that is on the offensive line. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to just say the running backs have been bad, but you have not been able to consistently run the ball to the standard that Wisconsin should be able to. And so as much as I think, yeah, I'm with you, like they've gotten away from their identity and they still haven't been there, I don't know if they have the option to have that identity.
Yeah. I think you bring up a point that sometimes injuries is more about your strength and conditioning and your strength and conditioning program. And I think that's why, like, typically I look at a game like this and you throw out all the other analysis out the window, you know that Wisconsin's lines are going to be better. I don't know if that's the case because I think that's a point that we need to consider is Fickle's strength and conditioning program at Wisconsin, has it fallen so significantly that now they're more on the level of a Maryland? And by the way, Maryland might be ascending with some of those studs on that defensive line.
They've got some really good young players, man. I mean, it's really, really impressive, some of the young players they have. And that's where my prediction goes to. So as much as I am talking down Wisconsin here, I do feel like I'm overreacting to Wisconsin playing Alabama. I do think that this is the first road test. I mean, I don't think. I know this is the first road test for a young Maryland team. Malik Washington, Zaheer Mathis, those guys. Sidney Stewart. I think Wisconsin's going to get the win in this one. I'm going to predict it 27-24. Although I am down on them. Although I am down on, Luke Fickle. Billy Edwards could come back in this one. It's still questionable. I don't know. We'll see. Danny O'Neill's been pretty good. I don't necessarily think all the sacks and stuff are on him with the offensive line, but I do think that some of Billy Edwards' mobility could help get rid of that. I feel much more confident if Billy Edwards is back, like I said, because of the mobility. Mm-hmm. But even if he isn't back, I think Wisconsin wins this one 27-24. And Maryland might be the more talented team, might look like the better team, but they might just have a couple mistakes here and there that cost it for them at the end.
Yeah. I think if Billy Edwards, I made my prediction thinking Billy Edwards will not play. I think if Billy Edwards plays, I think Wisconsin wins because I think there is a sense of like, that's my old team. I'm going to beat them. I don't think Billy Edwards plays. And I think Maryland wins. I do not trust Luke Fickle anymore. I hate saying it, but I get that it was Alabama, but this team looks like a shell of what it was even 3 years ago or 4 years ago under Chris, and it has not improved. I think the injury issues are a symptom of a bigger problem. I think you're right. The running backs haven't looked great. The offensive line hasn't looked great. The defense hasn't looked great.
Oh, the defense looked pretty good in week one. Secondary has been the bigger issue. I don't think the front seven's been bad. I think they've had good linebacker play.
Yeah. I don't think
the secondary's been the biggest issue.
I don't think this is a good matchup for Wisconsin. So I'm going to take Maryland 20-13.
Luke Fickle will get fired if he loses this game.
No, I don't. I think they wait till later on.
I don't know. I think they can. You lose at home to Maryland.
Maryland,
as young as
our
they are.
roles have reversed.
I don't know. I think. Well, you already fired Luke Fickle.
I mean, I did. You're right, but I I just think they gave him an extension. Like
Yeah.
I feel like there's a sense of like saving face to be like, we're going to stick with our guy.
I know,
So
but losing to Maryland at home with everything else you got going this season, I don't know. Maybe
yeah.
I'm overreacting, but
All right. I feel like I'm in a weird place where I'm backing Loxley over someone else.
I mean, I personally think Loxley is not getting fired this year unless these are the only 3 games they win. If they lose the rest of their games, yeah, probably.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, I think you've seen enough talent from the young guys on this team that you're really excited about what they could bring you in a couple years.
Yeah. I think so too. Malik Washington, like he is, if he stays at Maryland, he will be better than Talia Tagovailoa.
I mean, maybe, yeah. I don't know if he'll have the longevity numbers because he'll only probably play 3 years. Which Talia
Bigger
did he play 3 years
impact.
or 4?
Bigger impact.
Yeah, maybe more success. Maybe we'll see. It's gonna be interesting.